Okay, so the global race to dominate the future of manufacturing, it is on. With supply chains constantly shifting and old alliances kind of crumbling, nations are in this fight not just to survive, but to become completely indispensable. And let me tell you, it is an incredibly uneven race. Just look at this. You see manufacturing output in Europe basically flatlining. It's even declining in other places. But while all that's happening, one nation's industrial engine is really shifting into a higher gear. And that's the story we're diving into today, India's next big leap.
So what exactly is going on the global stage? Well, the world's industrial sector, it's trying to navigate this perfect storm, right? You've got inflation, broken supply chains, and all of this is leading to some wildly different outcomes depending on where you look.
And this right here, this is where the rules of the game have totally changed. It's not just about being the cheapest anymore. Nope. Now, it's all about being the most essential. We're talking about becoming a high-tech powerhouse that the rest of the world just can't function without.
All right, so in this whole sea of uncertainty, you might be wondering, how's India doing? Well, the data tells a story of some pretty incredible resilience. It's really become a bright spot on the world map.
Get this, 7%. That's the growth in India's industrial sector in just the first half of the fiscal year. I mean, that's not just a number on a slide, right? It's a real statement of strength and momentum, especially when you see other major economies kind of hitting the brakes.
And this isn't just some lucky break, not at all. It's actually the result of a really deep, structural shift that's been happening. India is deliberately moving towards more complex, high-value manufacturing. And this is all backed up by better infrastructure, a bigger push for new tech, and getting more and more businesses to operate within the formal economy.
So what's fueling this whole transformation? Well, it turns out it's a set of really ambitious government initiatives, pretty much designed to pour rocket fuel on this industrial engine. Okay, and right at the heart of all this is something called the Production Linked Incentive Scheme, or PLI for short. The easiest way to think about it is this. India is basically paying companies to come and build the future of manufacturing on its own soil. It's a really bold move, and the goal is to become a global production powerhouse. And believe me, the money is flowing in. The scheme has already pulled in over 2 lakh crore rupees in investment. Now, that is not just a drop in the ocean. We're talking about a tidal wave of capital that's all aimed at boosting domestic production in a huge way. And just look at where this investment is actually going. The PLI scheme is totally laser-focused on these key high-growth sectors, things like electronics, pharmaceuticals, auto components. This isn't random. It's a really strategic bet on upgrading India's industrial might for the future. But listen, it's not just about making more stuff. That's only part of the story. The real prize here is climbing up that global value chain, making that jump from just being a technology adopter to becoming a true innovator, someone who's deeply woven into the very fabric of the global economy.
And you can't argue with the progress. It's undeniable. India has literally rocketed up the Global Innovation Index. We're talking a jump of nearly 30 spots in just 6 years. That tells you that the research and development ecosystem is really starting to fire on all cylinders. Okay, but here's the reality check. There's a major hurdle ahead. If you look at the numbers, India's spending on R&D is still just a fraction of what the big innovators like the US and China are investing. And closing that gap, that is absolutely the key to unlocking that next level of growth.
So to really compete on the world stage, India needs to get more deeply integrated into what economists call global value chains, or GVCs. Now, specifically, it needs to increase what's called backward participation. It sounds complicated, but it's not. All it really means is becoming a super crucial player in the global assembly line, importing parts and components, and then using them to build and export the final products. And if you want to see a masterclass in this strategy, just look at Vietnam. This chart says it all. Almost half of their exports are built from imported parts. They totally use this global assembly line approach to ignite their economy. It's basically a blueprint for how to do this right. Okay, so the big question is pretty clear, right? How do all these different pieces, the manufacturing, the innovation, the global integration, how do they all fit together? What's the master plan here? Well, the roadmap has a very clear destination, the year 2047. The vision isn't small. It's for India to become not just a manufacturing giant, but a fully developed nation that's a key engine driving the future of the entire global economy. And this really ambitious journey rests on 5 critical pillars. First up, making it way easier to do business. Second, doubling down on R&D and innovation.
Third, skilling up the workforce for the jobs of the future. Fourth, building truly world-class infrastructure and logistics. And finally, number 5, empowering those small and medium-sized businesses to scale up and go global. You gotta have all 5 of these to build a truly competitive industrial ecosystem.
So ultimately, all of this brings India to a massive strategic crossroads. A firm choice has to be made. Is the focus going to be on what you might call defensive sovereignty, basically protecting the economy from all those global shocks? Or is it going to be offensive leverage, an aggressive strategy to become so essential, so indispensable in high-tech domains that the world literally can't operate without you? The answer to that question? Well, that's what will define India's economic future for decades to come.